I'm sure you've heard the term. Insert it in Google, and there are nearly 28 million references. You'll hear it in television movies. You'll hear it on the big screen. You'll see it in print articles. You'll hear it on YouTube. What is the term? Gaslighting. Gaslighting. What exactly does gaslighting mean, and where did it come from? Answers to those two questions straight ahead. Hello and welcome to the History of Everyday Sayings. I am your host, Stephen Carter. Who is this show for? If you are a philomath, a logophile, or you're someone who simply loves history tidbits you can share with family and friends, this show is for you. The term gaslighting is showing up everywhere. It's in blog posts, it is in television shows, it's on the internet, it's just showing up everywhere. What exactly does gaslighting mean? Where did it come from? Why is it becoming so popular? Well, let's begin by looking at the definition of gaslighting. When we go to Merriam-Webster.com, we learn that according to Merriam-Webster, gaslighting is a noun. The first meaning, quote, psychological manipulation of a person, usually over an extended period of time, that causes the victim to question the validity of their own thoughts, perception of reality, or memories, and typically leads to confusion, loss of confidence and self-esteem, uncertainty of one's emotional or mental stability, and a dependency on the perpetrator. Gaslighting can be a very effective tool for the abuser to control an individual. It's done slowly, so the victim writes off the event as a one-off or oddity and doesn't realize they are being controlled and manipulated. Definition number 2 for Merriam-Webster, quote, the act or practice of grossly misleading someone, especially for one's own advantage. To further understand what gaslighting is, let's visit medicalnewstoday.com, medicalnewstoday.com. In an article published July 14, 2022, the title of the article, What is Gaslighting? This article tells us gaslighting is a form of psychological abuse in which a person or group causes someone to question their own sanity, memories, or perceptions of reality. People who experience gaslighting may feel confused, anxious, or as though they cannot trust themselves. The article goes on to give information from the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Gaslighting can happen in a variety of ways. Some examples include countering. This is when someone questions a person's memory. They may say things such as, "Are you sure about that? You have a bad memory," or "I think you are forgetting what really happened." Another example, withholding. This involves someone pretending they do not understand the conversation or refusing to listen to make a person doubt themselves. For example, they may say, "Now you are just confusing me," or "I do not know what you are talking about." A third pattern, trivializing. This occurs when a person belittles or disregards how someone else feels. They may accuse them of being too sensitive or overreacting in response to valid and reasonable concerns. Next, denial. Denial involves a person refusing to take responsibility for their actions. They may do this by pretending to forget what happened, saying they did not do it, or blaming their behavior on someone else. Next, diverting. With this technique, the person changes the focus of a discussion by questioning the other person's credibility. For example, they may say, "This is just nonsense you read on the internet," or "it isn't real," stereotyping. An article in the American Sociological Review says that a person may intentionally use negative stereotypes about someone's gender, race, ethnicity, sexuality, nationality, or age to gaslight them. For example, they may say that no one will believe a woman if she reports abuse. The article makes the point gaslighting often begins gradually. The abusive person gains their partner's trust, sometimes with an initial honeymoon period in which there is no abusive behavior. Then the person begins suggesting that their partner is not reliable, that they are forgetful, or that they are mentally unstable. Over time, this can cause people to question if their partner is right. The more this happens, the more power and influence the abusive person has. When this word originally came into vogue, it related to personal relationships. However, over time, I have seen the word gaslighting used in a variety of different situations, including relationships between a doctor and a patient, where a doctor will demean or trivialize a patient's concerns about his or her health. There can be racial gaslighting. According to an article in Political Group and Identities, racial gaslighting is when people apply gaslighting techniques to an entire racial or ethnic group in order to discredit them. Political gaslighting, institutional gaslighting can occur when an organization, a company, an institution may portray a whistleblower who reports problems as irrational or incompetent, or deceive employees about their rights. Gaslighting is being used in a variety of other contexts, in addition to the original meaning associated with romantic relationships. So where in the world did this term come from? When we go to Britannica Online, we are told the term is derived from the title of a 1938 British stage play, Gaslight, which was subsequently produced as a film, that film being Gaslight, all one word, in the United Kingdom in 1940 and in the United States in 1944. Those dramas vividly, if somewhat simplistically, depicted some of the basic elements of the technique, and the Britannica entry goes on with additional details. By the way, all of these resources will be linked up in the show notes. So if the origin of gaslighting goes back to the late 30s and 40s, why is everyone talking about gaslighting now? Another source to look at relative to gaslighting is an article in Real Simple entitled, "Why is Everyone Talking About Gaslighting? Here's What It Means and How to Spot It." They are long on discussing what it means, how to spot it. They're very short here, however, on talking about why it's becoming so popular and it's showing up in so many movies, television programs, the internet, etc., etc., etc. My guess is that it is being popularized by various social media posts, and that has been the case over the past couple of years. In addition to the sources that I've cited already, I will have linked up in the show notes a blog post I wrote called 5 Indicators Your Partner is Gaslighting You. You'll find this post on the website freya.support, that's FREA.support. The FREA organization is dedicated to helping people who have experienced abuse, It's an organization I've been a volunteer for about 10 years. And by the way, if you think you are a victim of gaslighting, I have 5 suggested actions you can consider to help you deal with the situation, to include a list of organizations that you can reach out to for help, to include the domestic violence hotline in the United States. If you are in another country, use a search engine such as google.com to identify organizations and resources in your country and region that can help you navigate through a situation of domestic abuse, intimate partner abuse, whether that is physical or psychological. Gaslighting is abuse, and it needs to be dealt with accordingly. Again, all of these resources will be linked up in the show notes. If you're not following or you haven't subscribed to the History of Everyday Sayings podcast, this is a perfect time to do that. You'll find it wherever you get your podcasts. You can even subscribe by email. If you would like to do that, go to stressreliefradio.com, click on the podcast menu option, and select History of Everyday Sayings from that menu. And you can listen to previous episodes of History of Everyday Sayings, and you can listen to an array of other podcasts, all dedicated to stress relief. If you would like to reach me for any reason, email me at cartermethod@gmail.com, cartermethod@gmail.com. Until our next visit together, your host here, Stephen Carter, and I wish for you and your loved ones blessings in abundance.